and welcome to the United States.
Well, thank you. It's good to be with you again.
I heard your speech the other day before the UN General Assembly, and of course a lot of attention in the United States on ISIS and what's going on in Iraq and Syria, but as you noted, that's the battle. The real war that matters much to your country as well as to the world is Iran and nuclear weapons. Where are they on their nuclear weapons?
They're trying to get a deal which would leave them with the ability to make enough enriched uranium for a bomb and have all the sanctions, the tough sanctions, lifted off them. That's what they're trying to do. They shouldn't get it. I think it's important to specify what is the problem. The problem is that militant Islam is trying to dominate the Middle East and then take over the world. Its number one target ultimately is the United States. They view all these branches, Shiites, radical Sunnis, they see you as the great Satan. They call us the small Satan because we're just a frontal position, a forward position of the United States. They want to destroy us so they can get to you. The greatest danger is that any one of these groups, either ISIS on the radical Sunni side or Iran that leads the radical Shiites, that any one of them would get nuclear weapons is a tremendous threat to the future of our world, a tremendous threat not only to Israel but to the United States as well. That has to be prevented. Defeat ISIS, very important. We support that completely. Support President Obama's effort there, 100%. But defeating ISIS and letting Iran have the capacity to manufacture enough material for a bomb, that's to lose the war. You have to do both, defeat ISIS and prevent Iran from having nuclear weapons capability.
What's sort of peculiar, though, is that in fighting and defeating ISIS is that that the United States and the countries that are going along with the United States have Iran supporting it, which is sort of an unusual, strange bedfellows in some ways.
Yes and no, because when both of your enemies are fighting one another, you don't support one or the other. Weaken both. That's my point. You don't have to give Iran, and I don't think anyone is suggesting it, but I heard it in the press that people are saying, well, let's reward Iran for fighting ISIS with what they want on the nuclear deal. What for? They're going to fight ISIS anyway. If Assad came to you and said, well, I'll fight ISIS if you give me back my chemical weapons, you'd laugh him out of court. That's about the same absurdity. There's no need to do that. You have to fight ISIS and do everything that's necessary to prevent Iran from having the capacity to make atomic bombs.
Well, the arrangement right now, or the negotiations, the discussions, which are supposed to, I think November 24th is the next deadline, at least they're discussing leaving some enrichment capability with Iran, which I think before you've been quoted as saying that a bad deal is worse than no deal. Is that a bad deal if they have any enrichment capacity?
In my opinion, of course. Why do they need enrichment? Why do they need centrifuges? You ask that question, actually. I mean, they say they need it for civilian nuclear energy. That's not true. 17 countries around the world, big countries, like Mexico and Canada and Indonesia and others, have civilian nuclear energy. They don't have one centrifuge, because the centrifuge you really need for one thing, not for civilian nuclear energy, but for making a bomb, for military use. So there's no reason Iran should have it. And my point was they shouldn't have it. And to the extent that you move away from that and they get more and more and more centrifuges, first hundreds and possibly thousands, then you're giving them the capacity in short order, few weeks, few months, to operate those centrifuges, enrich enough uranium, that's what you need, enrich uranium to make the core of a nuclear bomb. And there's no reason on earth to do that.
Do you have the sense that President Obama, or has he said anything to your meeting, that he is willing to put on the table some sort of enrichment capability? Now, I know that Iran says they want it for peaceful purposes, and I know that whole argument. But do you have the sense?
Peaceful purposes?
I know that's what they say.
What do they make radioisotopes to put forward on their intercontinental ballistic missiles that they'll shoot out to Iranian patients orbiting the Earth? I mean, it's absurd.
I was
They're
not
making bombs. That's what they're trying to do. That's what their whole program is about. Everybody knows that.
And I was not suggesting that I believe that. I know they've got intercontinental ballistic missiles they're working on as well, so, and there's only one reason for that. But I'm curious, do you have the sense that the United States, its position is that they will allow some, or that they will agree to some enrichment of uranium?
Yeah, they say so openly, and they brief us. I have to be clear that we have an open exchange. I mean, we know what is being discussed, and the U.S. is very open with this, as befits close allies. But to the extent that you veer away from no enrichment, from no centrifuges, and you start moving away from that, then it becomes a bad deal. And you move further away, it becomes a very bad deal. And to the extent you get close to the position where they'll have no enrichment capacity or minimal, that becomes a better deal. And we'll see where it ends up on the spectrum. But I think it's the overwhelming issue because these militant Islamist groups or regimes, whether Iran or ISIL or Hamas, they all have a fanatic ideology. They want to have their domains expanded, and ultimately they want to change history. They want to bring us back to an early medieval period where women are chattel and minorities are subjugated, and everyone they consider an infidel is given the choice: convert or die. I mean, that's insane. But this insanity, coupled with the weapons of mass destruction, could lead to catastrophe. And that's happened before in the previous century with another mad ideology that sought to conquer the world. And when they thought they had enough power, the Nazis wrought horrible devastation and 60 million people died. And a third of my people died. Well, we can't let that happen again.
You mentioned Hamas. Israel's taking a lot of the world condemned over the number of Palestinian civilian deaths. But Hamas is the same as ISIS?
Hamas and ISIS, they're not twins, but they're brothers. I call them branches of the same poison tree. These are radical Islamic movements, and they use some of the same methods. Look at this. I brought this picture. And when your viewers look at this, they might think this is ISIS about to carry out an impending execution. But it's not. This is taken roughly at the same time of the ISIS beheadings, except it happened not in Syria or Iraq, but in Gaza. And this Hamas executioner is about to execute one of dozens of Palestinians that they killed in order to instill their campaign of fear over the population of Gaza. Now, there are some differences. Hamas beheads people, or rather ISIS beheads people, and Hamas puts a bullet in their head. But if you're the victim or their family, the horror is the same. So they use the same tactics, and they also have the same goal of dominating the world with this terrible Islamist conception. And I think they should be fought. We fought Hamas. Now you're fighting ISIS. But I think we shouldn't lose sight of, in the cracks, we shouldn't let Iran, the ultimate Islamist power, to get the ultimate power.
Mr. Prime Minister, before we go, and you have to excuse my Midwestern accent, but Gamar Hatama Tova.
That's pretty good. There's room for improvement, but it means a happy New Year. This is the Jewish New Year, so I want to say that we offer it for Jews and non-Jews alike. I hope that we have a year under challenging circumstances fighting these terrorists who challenge, really imperil our civilization. I hope we have a good year for security and for prosperity and for peace.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.